Sewing project. You'll need the following materials to complete this. Some fabric sheets. You want to have at least 2 colors. And when I check the prices of the felt sheets, they're around 35 cents each. You will have like at least 3 of those. And for the stuffing, it's polyester fibers. It's around 50 cents per ounce. And it takes about 4 ounces to fill a plushie, so let's just say $2 for the plushie. If you want some puffy paint to either glue the eyes on to the plushie or to create a pattern to design the outside of the plushie, you could buy some puffy paint. It's around $3 a bottle. Thread and needles, $4, scissors, $3, chalk, $1, and then I'll have the plush patterns at the bottom of this paper. Now, a lot of this stuff will already be in the class. The main things that I want you to bring are the thread and needle. So you can work on this outside of class time as well as in class. And I also don't have enough needles for everyone to have one at the same time. There will be scissors in class, chalk in class. There will be some stuffing and fabric and puffy paint. Now, if you want a specific type of fabric, I'd recommend you choosing those 3 sheets from somewhere. Some places that you can find these is Walmart and Daiso. At Walmart, they sell felt sheets that are 93.5 square inches, and at Daiso, they have 49 square inches felt pieces. And both of these pieces of felt are 35 cents a piece. For those wanting to know which topics are covered for this project, we have these teak numbers for Algebra 2, and then it includes proportions, profit and interest, rounding, and area. Let's go to the table. So for this table right here, you want to calculate the area of each color used in your plush pattern. Round your answers to the nearest 1/16 of an inch. To solve for 110 plushies, use the formula 1 plushie over area of the material equals X plushies over Y area of material. Round up all the fabric pieces after solving. So, for example, if you need like 1.1 fabric sheets, you need to round that up to 2. Let's go ahead and go to each of the patterns. So we'll make a rectangle around each of the pieces, and then we're going to take a ruler and measure how long and wide each of these rectangles are. So one color will be for the spikes, and one color will be for the body. Pause the video and make these measurements. So I got 8 inches by 5 inches for the body. And so if you multiply those together, it gives you 40. But for the total, it would be times 2 since you're cutting out 2 of them. So it'd be 80 inches squared for both pieces. And then for the spikes, you would multiply those 2 numbers together, and it's only one set of spikes. So it would be about 10.4 inches squared for the spikes. And again, this would be an overestimate since you could use the same color with those. But on the rubric, you want to have at least 2 colors. So the total amount of area you would need for the dinosaur is 90.4 inches squared. Now, since you have two different colors here, you will have two sheets, one for the spikes and then one for the body. So it'd either be one Walmart sheet or two Daiso sheets. Depending on which one you're going to be using. And then this will just be one sheet regardless if it's Walmart or Daiso or whatever size that you're going to use. Let's go on to the next pattern. The whale. So just like the previous pattern we looked at in this video, you'll draw a rectangle around each of the pieces. You want to use at least two different colors. So I have the rectangles in two different colors here. We have the belly and the underneath the fins, and then we have the top of the fins and then the top of the body. Go ahead and measure these with a ruler and see how many inches the lengths and the widths are for these. So here's the dimensions that I got approximately on my piece of paper. So for the belly of the whale, we have 3.25 inches by 7.5 inches. There's only going to be one that we're cutting here, so if we multiply those together, the total area is 26.25 inches squared. For the fins, we're going to have two of these, so if we multiply this together, we get 3. And if we multiply that by 2, we have a total of 6 inches squared. For the other fin, it's the same thing. For the sides, we're going to have two of those, so we're going to multiply those together. 6.5 times 3. And we get 19.5. And then we're going to multiply that by 2 to get 39 inches squared. And then the top, there's only one piece for that, and we multiply the dimensions together to get 21.4 inches squared. Now the total inches for this one would be 92.65 inches squared. You want to find the total area for one color and then for another color. Based on what you do specifically, you'll write down those two added up values here. And you'll use that for your table. Alright, let's go ahead and go to the third pattern. An elephant. Go ahead and draw your rectangles and find your dimensions. For these rectangles, I made the ear a third color because for the elephant that I made, I used 2 for one color. Like one of the colors was a dark blue and then the other color was like a light blue. Go ahead and use your ruler to find the approximate dimensions of each of these rectangles. So here's the dimensions that I got on my paper. Let's find the areas of each of these. Of course, you could always put the tail inside of this box right here at the elephant. So it would be less if you're using the same color for these two. Let's see, the area of the body of the elephant. You want to cut 2 of them. So that total area would be 109.4 inches squared. Let's see, for the inside of its legs, we have 35.7 inches squared. For the tail, it's 1.4 inches squared. For the feet, we're going to do 4 of those. So it'd be about 7 inches squared. And then for the ears, we have 18 inches for 2 of them, and then 18 inches for the other one. So like one color will be 18, and then the other color will be 18. The total area for this one would be 189.5 inches squared. And then go ahead and add up the totals for each color that you're using. Color 1 is how much? Color 2 is how much? If you're going to use a third color, you would put like color 3 right here. They did add up to give you this though. Or a little less than that. Again, if you want, you put like the tail in here, or the feet go in here, something like that. Okay, now let's go on and go to the unicorn. Draw your boxes and find your dimensions. After you've drawn your boxes, go ahead and find your lengths and widths. Looks like the ear could easily fit into the same rectangle as the body, but if you want to have it as a different color, you'll have to, of course, have it on a different sheet. Pause the video and find those dimensions using a ruler. So we have our dimensions here. Let's multiply to find the areas of these. So for the body, we have 7.5 times 5.5, and we're cutting 2 of those, so we're going to multiply it by 2. That will give you 82.5 inches squared. And then for the bottom of the body, we're just cutting 1, so we're going to multiply those together. We get about 20.2 inches squared. For the ear, if you want to have it like a separate color, multiply these 2 together, and then you're multiplied by 2 because you have 2 ears. And then let's find the area of these wings. You'd multiply these 2 together. You're cutting 4 of them out, so you're going to multiply that by 4. You get about 35 inches squared. For the mane, we'll multiply these 2 together to get 3 inches squared. Multiply these together to get about 5.25 inches squared. And when you add those all up together, you should get about 150.95 inches squared. And then just like on the previous patterns from this video, go ahead and add up the total color, the total area for color 1 and the total area for color 2. And then if you use a third or a fourth color, include those as well. And we add those up together, it should give you about this amount right here. So now that you've figured out what your areas are, you can go back to the table. So for this chart, you're going to name what color you're going to use. On mine, I'm just going to put C1 and C2. For you, go ahead and put the actual color though. So for the first color, you want to find the area of that plushie for 1. Let's just say that we were doing the dinosaur. Color 1, we'll just say that was the red one. That was 80 inches squared. Okay, felt needed for 1 plushie. I'm going to do this based on the Walmart felt prices and sheet areas. So we're going to say that it's 1 sheet. Okay, and then for color 2, we need 3.75 inches. And that would be 1 sheet as well. Okay, the price of materials for one plushie, we're just talking about the felt in these two rows. The startup cost will be at the bottom. So the price of the felt for one plushie for the first color would be 35 cents. And the price for the blue or the second color, whatever you use, is also 35 cents, since you just need one felt piece for each of those. And we're going to add those three numbers up together to get the total. So the total price for that one plushie would be $11.70. Okay, how about for 10 plushies? So we're not just going to multiply the felt needed for one plushie by 10, we're going to multiply the area of the one plushie by 10. So we're going to have 80 times 10, that's 800. And then we're going to divide that by the amount of square inches. So we get about 8.6, and we're always going to round up sheets to the next whole number, so that's 9. So we're going to put 9 for this one. So the area of the 10 plushies is 800 inches squared. And so you just divide this by area of one sheet. And so if we did that for the next color, that was 3.75 inches squared, so we're going to multiply that by 10. So that'd be 37.5 inches squared. That's still not the size of a whole sheet, so you still only need one felt sheet. Notice that we go from this to 10, and we still only need one sheet. If we multiplied the felt sheets instead, we would be getting a lot of extra felt that we wouldn't need here. So to find the price of the 10 plushie felts, we're going to multiply 9 times the 35, and then the 1 times the 35. 9 times 35 cents would be $3.15. Okay, we're going to add those together and get the totals. So this would be $14.50. Okay, now let's find the area for 100 plushies. So we're going to multiply 80 times 100. That's 8,000. And we're going to divide that by 93.5 inches squared. And then so that means it would be about 85.6, and so we're going to round that up to one more place, so that's going to be 86 pieces. And then now let's do the second color, the spikes. So we're going to multiply this by 100, and that is 375 inches squared. And we're going to divide that by 93.5. And that's going to be 4.01. It's very, very close to 4, but we're still going to round it up to 5. And so for the price, you're going to multiply those numbers by 35 cents. So 86 times 35 cents is $30.10. And then 5 times 35 cents would be $1.75. Add those together, and the total price would be $42.85. So this was for the dinosaur here. If you need help calculating these areas and the prices and the number of felt sheets needed, let me know. Let's go on to the next page. Profit is sell price minus the cost of materials. Research the average price of a plushie. From what I researched, the average price of a plushie is $8 to $75. I found this according to the Build-A-Bear website of April 2022. The lowest priced item was $8 and the highest priced item was $75 before tax and coupons. So based on what you got on the table for the price of one plushie, create a sell price that is in between that number right here and $75. When you make your sell price and you come up with what to put on there, you want to consider some of these things. You want to consider the cost of materials, which will at least be $12 for one plushie, and then the time for labor. When I hand sewed one of each of these types of patterns, it took me between 1 and 4 hours for each of those. When you think of hours, also think of minimum wage. Right now, I believe it's $7.25. So let's just say that it was $12 for the cost of materials, and it took you 1 hour for the labor. So that'd be 12 plus $7.25. So you should charge at least like $20 here. But again, give that justification for what you would put here, like what you would charge and why. And then calculate the profit for selling one plushie, 10 plushies, and 100 plushies using this sale price. This P right here and the questions below represent the profit for selling 100 plushies. So this number that you're going to get right here, we're going to call that P. If you want to get the profit price for any number of cells, you can use this formula right here. P equals SX minus 2X minus 0.35Y minus 11, where capital S is the sale price that you chose right here. X is the number of plushies that you sell, and Y is the number of fabric sheets that you need to use. And then minus 11, that's the startup cost. So let's go ahead and look at the questions below here. I'm going to intentionally put a very small number for the sale price and the profit price. Now let's say 5 for this right here. Okay, what if you put all your profits into an account that has an annual interest rate of 9% and it's compounded monthly if you sold 100 plushies? How long would it take you to have $2,000? How about $8,000? Round to the nearest year. Use the amortization formula. A equals P times 1 plus R over N to the NT power to solve for T in years. The rate, 9%, to change it as a decimal or standard form, we move the decimal to the left twice, also known as divide by 100. Okay, so our rate is 0.09, n is 12, and we don't know what t is. Again, I used a very small number here because I really want you to find that profit number yourself. So here's how you would solve for this. Plug in all the values. So 2000 equals 5 parentheses 1 plus 0.09 over 12 to the 12t power. Okay, we'll divide each side by 5, or by p in your case. Actually, to make it even more generic, let's just put p into this equation. Okay, so we have 2000 divided by p equals 1 plus 0.09 over 12 to 12t power. Okay, from here we could take each side, exponentiate it by the reciprocal 1 over 12. And then let's find this in the calculator. That's 1.0075. Okay, we're going to log base 1.0075 each side. So you would plug that into the calculator. Log base 1.0075 of 2000 divided by p to the 1/12th power. And then you would round it to the nearest whole number. And then that's what you would put right there. You would do the same thing for the next one, except for instead of A being 2000, A would now be 8000. A reasonable number of years that you should hopefully get is somewhere between 10 and 40. Let's talk into more detail about the patterns for the plushies. So if you look at the grading rubric, we have different parts here. You will use 2 or more colors for your stuffed animal. If you use 3 or more, you could get some extra points. For the sewing and the stuffing, you need to make sure that your plushie is sewn together. And you can also decorate the outside of your plushie with like buttons, embroidery, or puffy paint designs, patterns. There's also the table from the first page. Is it accurate and complete? So you want to fill these in. If you get these 2 rows, that's what's required. If you want some extra points, do a 3rd row for a 3rd color. And then the plushie sale price is identified. So basically this stuff needs to be filled out with your reasoning. And then the compound interest application problems. All variables are correctly identified and work is shown algebraically to justify both problems. For the dinosaur pattern, you will first trace the designs onto your felt paper. To do that, you'll have the cutouts on your felt piece and then trace them with chalk. Remember, you will use at least 2 different colors for this. Once you've done that, you'll shadow cut around the felt pieces, but not exactly on the chalk, but like right outside of it. When you sew them together, though, you do want to sew like on the chalk line. Since the scales are going to not be sewn together with another piece of scales. You just want to have it sticking up on the top of your body piece. So you'll be sewing it onto the actual body here. So the scales, you'll be sewing these pieces to like right here on the body. And then this part right here is going to go on the inside. So it'll be going inside like right here. Once you finish sewing all the way around it, leave a little room, such as right here, so you can turn the plushie inside out, or actually right side out, so that all those thread pieces will not be showing. And your final thing. Once you've done that, then you can stuff it with some of the stuffing, and then sew up the rest of it. Let's look at the next design. The whale. So for the whale, you want to trace each piece, cut them out, and then one thing I would start with is just sewing the fins together. So sew all of this part and all of this part and leave these opening. After you've finished sewing the rest of it, turn it right side out, stuff it a little bit, and then sew those last pieces together. Once you've completed the fins, you can sew them onto the belly and the sides. Notice we have A and B. A and B is going to be where the fins are going to go on your whale. And then the E's is where the side ends and then the front starts. So the front of the whale will actually be this piece. If you look at the original whale design that I made, I messed that part up. Be sure to have this in the front right here, and it's attached to the belly. This part right here is the hole that you can leave until last, and then you'll turn everything right side out, stuff it, and then seal up the last hole. When you're done with your plushie, you could create some eyes. You can either use more felt or you can use puffy paint for those. You could also use embroidery to make the eyes. Let's look at the next design pattern. Let's look at the elephant. So for the elephant, it's just like the other ones. You're going to have your cutout design. Trace them on your felt paper or your felt sheets with the chalk. Remember where it says cut 2, you want to trace out 2 of those. If it says cut 4, you want to trace out 4 of those. For the ears, I do recommend you using 2 different colors. One for the inside of the ear and one for the outside of the ear. Once you cut those out, you can attach the ears, like just sew all of it this way, and then this part right here, you can save it till last. You turn it right side out, stuff it a little bit, and then sew the rest of that. And then you'll attach those to the side of the elephant. You could either cut a hole right here on the elephant, or you could just sew it onto the outside of the elephant. Where these stars are, this is where you're going to attach it onto the body. the tail could just be sewn a little bit on the inside of the elephant right here where this X is. For the feet, you'll just sew it to the bottom of the feet, or the legs right here, to have your feet. We're turning this right side out at the end of this. I'd say that one of the hardest things to do is getting the trunk to be pulled out to the other side. The place that I left the hole for last was right here. This part right here is basically the belly of the elephant. Alright, let's look at the last pattern. Here's the unicorn. So for the unicorn Pegasus design, you'll want to trace each pattern onto your felt sheets with the chalk. If it says cut 2, you want to cut and trace out 2 of the same pattern. Each of these letters represent where things are attached to each other. So this F goes with this F. We are sewing them together. You're going to have an F on this side, F on the other body piece, and then the 2 F's will come together with this belly piece of F. The G is the back. You'll put that right here. The H is going to be where the tail goes, and then the A and the C is where the mane is going to go. Cut a little slit for the ears on each side of the body piece. And then for I, you could just sew on the wings when you're done sewing them in. For the one that I made on the example, I didn't stuff the wings. I just sewed them together and turned them right side out. I also cut this part of the wing right here just to have some fluffy stuff on the wings. You can add stuff if you want to. You can also leave out the part with this fluffy wing stuff in the middle. If you need more help with sewing, go ahead and look at the other videos on this sewing page, Life Skills number 49. Also, if you need more help, make sure to ask me or the people around you. You'll most likely will have some focused time to work on this, so I strongly suggest you have a needle and some thread to work on this stuff outside of class, in addition to in class. I hope you have fun making these plushies.